Hello and welcome to another edition of Another Book Review. This week I'll be reviewing Katherine Weber's novel True Confections. Talk a little bit about the author, go into a brief spoiler-free overview of the plot, talk about what I liked about the book, what I didn't like about the book, who I'd recommend the book to, and finish off with what I'll be reading for next time. Katherine Weber is a novelist who's been writing since the early 90s. Her first 3 or 4 novels were mentioned as New York Times notable books of the years they were published. And I believe this is her 7th novel. She's also known for her writing work in teaching writing, and I believe Kenyon, I think she also used to teach at Yale, which is important for this book because the book is set in New Haven, Connecticut, where Yale is located. What this is, True Confections, is about a woman named Alice who marries into a family that owns a candy factory in Connecticut, and the book is essentially her history of that family from the beginning of the founding of the company to the present day. And the book is interesting for a few different reasons, but one of them is that it's told in a style that's not often, you don't see very often. I think it's referred to as epistolatory. So it's a story told as if it was documents, told as if it was through documents. So a similar, kind of a notable example of this would be Color Purple, which is told through letters. This is actually told through an affidavit. So the whole concept of the book is that it's almost like you're reading a legal document to respond. It's Alice's response to being taken to court. And the book, which is one of the things I liked, and I can't get into too many plot elements of the book just because it would be spoilers, so I'm just going to leave it at that vague hook. But I did like that kind of a unique way to tell the story. I think the book is very funny at parts. It reminded me a lot of the television show Arrested Development because it's almost like this family comedy of them owning this business, and some people work well together and some people don't work well together, and some people work, some people don't. And also the movie Extract, because a lot of it takes place in a factory. So I like those things. I like the pun of True Confections because as you read the novel, you realize the narrator, Alice, because everything is told through her viewpoint, some of the things may be true, quote unquote, and some of them may be less true. So I like the pun on True Confessions. Whether or not this is in fact true or not is something you have to kind of bring your own interpretation to the novel, which I enjoyed a lot. I also thought that it was really funny in parts, especially in the beginning, where it's more of a almost like a sitcom-ish, where she marries into this family and has to, her character is, she refers to herself throughout the novel as a wasp, and she has to integrate herself into this family that's very, very Jewish, and she has to take it upon herself to learn their customs and the holidays and the food and all these different things. In that first part of the novel is a little bit of a comedy of manners in that sense, so I like that. I think the book also ends very strongly. It kind of, I think, does a good job of wrapping up the parts of it that it wants to wrap up. I think it has a good ending. Some things that I liked a little bit less, I felt that the middle dragged a little bit. It's not a super plot-heavy book, and just because of the way that the book is structured, there are certain pieces of information you don't get till later in the novel, and because of that, sometimes you don't always feel the pull of the book. Also, because of the structure, there are viewpoints of other characters that you, by design, do not get. So kind of going to what I was saying about the limited narrator that you have, you want to see, well, this is this version of the story, so what is the other version of the story? I thought that was by design, but also very frustrating at times, because you want to say, well, that's clearly your version of it, but what is like the true quote-unquote version? I'm glad that she didn't break out of the structure, but I definitely felt that that was at times kind of irritating. I think the flip side of that, the good thing about it, is after you're done reading the book, I definitely found myself walking around and questioning what I had read or what another interpretation of this event may be that may cast the narrator in a less than flattering light. So I thought it was cool. So I kind of mentioned the sagging middle. There's not necessarily, it's not a very bloated novel. It only runs, I think, about 275 pages. There are some scenes that are in the novel that feel a little bit misplaced, not only for the idea that this is a legal document There's some stories in there that you don't know why you would include that in a legal document unless the author is making a comment on the character. But even then, I thought that they should have served a dual purpose, or at least have been funny or interesting, and some of them were less than those things, so I may have pulled those out or questioned why they were included. The book, in a lot of ways, feels dated. It was written in 2009, and there are some kind of references to some political things in the novel that didn't really ring true to me for that character, as far as their motivation and how they would react to certain things, so I kind of questioned those. The other thing I forgot to mention that I did like is the book is built around the candy industry, and there are a lot of different stories because the main character is so immersed in that world. There's all kinds of different stories about different candy companies that they're older candy companies that may have since folded. The company that she is a part of, Zips, is kind of like a regional company. They're not like a Hershey or like a Nestle. They're a smaller company. They only have like 3 lines, 3 different types of candies, so they're very much in a smaller vein, and she kind of references to other candy bars in the past, and you don't know if those are real or if she made them up. I think that's kind of a credit to the author and her being able to do that, so I thought that was cool. As far as kind of the themes of ownership, ultimately the book comes down to a question of history and ownership and stories and what is true and what is false, and I thought that was all handled really well. I think that that's true on an exterior level as well as an interior level for the character. And again, just because of the structure of the novel, you don't really hear from who turns out to be the main antagonist in the novel. While that's by design, and while I'm glad that she didn't break the structure, that was at times a little limiting, and it bothered me a little bit. But overall, I really enjoyed the novel. I thought it was definitely funny and definitely made me think in its more serious moments. I think the author did a good job of handling the tone of the book because it was able to be kind of both of those things without feeling... She never takes the humor to a level where it's zany, where she can't come back into the realistic, which I liked a lot. So that's the book. I would recommend the book to... Who would I recommend the book to? I think if you like... I thought when I was first reading it, it probably could be a beach read, but I think the second half is a little bit too serious for that. But if you're someone who kind of likes books about families and about dysfunction, I don't think the book ever gets to too dark a place where I wouldn't recommend it to most people for any kind of content reasons. If you're someone who wants a book that you can read in a couple days that's fun but also makes you think and is about families and conflict and some of the themes I talked about before, then I would definitely pick it up. So that is True Confections. Next time I will be finishing and reviewing White Shift by Eric Kaufman. Until next time, please feel free to like the video, leave a comment in the comments below, and until next time, bye.